listening to the Patriot Nation Podcast.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Patriot Nation Podcast. As always, a proud member of the CLNS Grouper Podcast. Make sure you download and subscribe to all those great shows to get great Patriots content all week long. But tonight, it is the Patriot Nation Podcast with yours truly, Pat Lane, and my man back from vacation, Matt St. Jean. Matt, welcome back, sir.
Good to be back in the hot seat here.
Yep. Love to see it. I'm rocking my vest in honor of Mike Vrabel, showing up and vesting everyone out. Love it. And so I rocked that to school today. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna leave it for the show.
It's a nice investment.
That's right. Hey, nice work. Anyways, I was gonna tell a dad joke, and I'm not. I'm gonna resist. I'm gonna spare
our audience that one.
Yes, I will. But yeah, here we are, and some big announcements coming through. I think we're going to talk about my mock draft before the break. Do you want to start with Hard Knocks? I feel like that's a good place to start.
Yeah,
this just broke tonight. 2026 Hard Knocks offseason is going to be Seattle, the Seattle Seahawks. And the 2027 off-season Hard Knocks is going to be New England Patriots. This is really interesting. I like this a lot. I am not a Hard Knocks guy. I don't mind it, but I don't watch it religiously. I know there are people that watch it religiously, and I just don't do that. But rest assured, I will be seated for the Patriots in 2027. That's for sure.
I think what's interesting to me about this is scheduling it so far in advance. And I think if you look at Hard Knocks used to be something that would kind of dominate the internet when it came out. That was especially some of those 09 Hard Knocks and stuff. It was legendary stuff.
Yeah.
And it hasn't felt that way in a long time.
Right.
This feels like the NFL making a concerted effort to say, hey, we want to make this show a prominent fixture in our NFL portfolio here again. Will it work? I'm not sure, but basically saying, hey, the teams that we just saw play in the Super Bowl, you're going to get to watch them the next 12 seasons. You're going to know a year and a half in advance for the Patriots here that you're going to be on this. Feels notable that they're taking that step. I think the biggest reason why Hard Knocks has fallen off, it hasn't really, the ratings are still good, but in terms of discourse, I think it's fallen off because it used to be this kind of, it used to be access that we didn't have, especially the original Hard Knocks, the early seasons of it. This didn't exist. That was the first time we got a real look behind the curtains live as this stuff was going on ever. And of course, that's going to generate a lot of attention because it doesn't matter what team you're a fan of. Everyone's going through a version of it, and there's a novelty in saying, now we get to find out what this looks like. Yeah. Now it's been going on for what, decade and a half, 2 decades?
Right.
And every NFL team has their own content that they put out, their own behind-the-scenes content. Plus, nothing gets put on Hard Knocks without the team okaying it. So when you put these things together, what you get on Hard Knocks is always going to be significantly more sanitized than what you used to get on Hard Knocks. And it's not a novelty anymore. It's just the most publicized, highest quality version of something that kind of exists around the league for every team every year now.
It's a good point. It is a good point. And I think that's part of it is that, we see it. Right. We see a lot of this stuff. So it's not even the Forge and Foxborough stuff and all that stuff, we're seeing into the locker rooms. We're seeing into the meeting rooms. We're meeting, the behind the scenes people and all that. That's all happening. Right. And so we're not clamoring for that as much because we already have it. And I also think too, you talk about kind of this 24-hour news cycle, right? We're getting all the information right now, immediately, right away. If you're releasing something that happened 2 weeks ago, that happened 2 weeks ago. Like, we don't really care about that anymore. And, I mean, for us, we'll go back and watch it, but like, it's like, okay, that happened 2 weeks ago. Why do I care about that anymore? And that kind of tends to be the way that people feel about those things. I am excited to see the Patriots on. I think that's cool. It's a fun thing that the Patriots get to do, but it doesn't. I think overall it hasn't moved the needle in a while. Now maybe this will push it back into the forefront. Maybe they'll do some different things, but we'll see.
I do think the other part of this too, like players being on social media as much as they are. Like if you go back, like let's go to like 2007, which is around when they started to get some prominence.
Mm-hmm.
There was an undrafted free agent who might be vying for a roster spot. You had a couple journalists talking about, what they saw at practice, and a couple camera crews for like local TV and stuff, and maybe NFL Network that would be there and could give you some kind of B-roll about what practice looked like. Outside of that, if you wanted to learn about these players, you have to try to find like writing about them when they played in college. Like if we're talking about undrafted guys or long shots to make the roster, there just isn't that much. Like it's hard to find information on those guys. So telling their story becomes very interesting because they are genuinely an unknown before you watch that episode, even if you've heard that guy's having a productive camp.
Right.
Now, these guys are kind of internet sensations before day one of camp happens.
Mm-hmm.
Efton Chisholm was a popular name in New England before camp started because you can see his social media and all the games are on TV and you can go find all the highlights and you could put it all together and generate that kind of hype. And it's obviously not the same as being in the room when Efton Chisholm finds out he made the roster, for example. That itself is still unique. But I also think we've seen that play out on Hard Knocks and other shows before, those moments of this guy made it or this guy didn't make it. And it's still exciting to see it, but it's not novel anymore. Yeah. It's not like you can kind of imagine what that looks like because we've seen a million clips of UDFA wide receiver finds out he made the cut. Mm-hmm. Or they've posted their own clips on, nowadays you might post a video on Instagram or go live and say, hey, I'm excited about this thing. Or you're gonna see the player tweet something, 5 minutes after 4:00 on cut down day, and he knows he made the team. Like it's a different world now.
It's definitely true. I am hoping that we get some of the inner workings a little bit. I really liked what they did with Forged in Foxborough. I thought they did a really nice job with that this year. The hour and a half one that kind of told the playoff story was really good and very, very in depth and showed kind of a lot of those behind the scenes things, which I thought was cool. And some of the kind of thought processes into what they were doing. That stuff is fun to see. But again, it's just like, well, there's only so much of that you need. You know what I mean? And it is cool. Like I will say, I'm excited. I just what I'm excited about Hard Knocks is that you mentioned Efton Chisholm last year, right? And everyone in New England was excited about Efton Chisholm. But like, imagine everyone in the country that's watching Hard Knocks gets excited about Efton Chisholm. Like that part of it, I'm excited about. That's cool. But outside of that, it's kind of like, all right, whatever.
It will be exciting to see how Mike Vrabel handles, trying to go back to back and how you build on Drake May's MVP season and things like that. Well, of course,
that won't be the case unless they win the Super Bowl next year.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When Drake wins
good point.
This year and they win it, then it's how do you go back to back? How do you go for the third year in a row?
It's a great point.
I am curious. The fact that they're promoting this so far in advance, like, there's a criticism we've made of where Hard Knocks falls. So I wonder if we see new things with Hard Knocks this year. I wonder if we get more footage. Do they basically tell teams, I know that there's things you're not going to want to show, and we're just going to show some of this stuff anyway? Like, are they going to remove some creative control? Are they going to try to spice it up a little bit more?
Maybe.
curious, and I wonder how the Patriots adapt to it too. It shouldn't really impact your decision making, but if you have if you had to make a Stephon Diggs type situation, and knowing that the Patriots were going to be on Hard Knocks this offseason, does the fact that, oh boy, this guy's going to have a criminal trial possibly this offseason, and then a couple months later he's going to be all the behind the scenes stuff. Do we want to deal with that? Is that going to something that could change things going into the next season?
Right. It's a good point. There's a lot of stuff that can happen in 12 months. And so
we're looking at what, 15 months?
Right. Yeah. So for the Patriots to book something like that, that far out in advance obviously shows the commitment that they have to Mike Vrabel, but then also shows the commitment that they have to the team and what they think of their team. And they should feel that way. But, it's.
Or the NFL made them an offer they couldn't refuse and said, we don't really care if you like this or not. We're going to give you X amount of money to do this.
That's also true. Yeah, that's also true. That's a fair point too.
Yep.
So anyway, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Do you want to get
100%?
Well, that's ultimately what matters. What matters, right? And that's what the NFL wants is the excitement level and people excited about it. So, all right, you want to get into my mock draft?
Did we want to talk about the NFL rule stuff at all?
I mean, we can.
We can also save it for Thursday's episode if we want.
Yeah, let's save that for Thursday because I think we'll know more about that.
Okay.
By the time we get to Thursday. Also, Matt, the other Matt, is requesting I tell the joke, and so I will. Hello, Nelson. Thanks for coming through. What do you call an alligator in a vest? And that, of course, would be an investigator. So that's,
okay.
As you did. That's what, the vest and everything like that. By the way, I do start every day. I start every day with the dad joke of the day. And my one today was kind of hit or miss. I told the kids I was very upset this weekend because my barber said that he couldn't cut my hair any longer. Turns out he can only cut it shorter.
There we go. There we go.
So there you go. So there's that. Anyway,
I used to have a priest as a teacher, and anytime someone asks or someone said I'm gonna get my hair cut, so are you gonna get them all cut? One.
I love it. It's my kind of guy right there. It's my kind of guy. So, my kind of guy. So, well, Connor, welcome back. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for coming through. Glad you're not feeling sick anymore. Let's get into my mock. Let's get into my mock draft from Pats Pulpit. Dropped this morning, Monday morning. If you're listening via podcast on Tuesday, drop Monday morning. You can go to Pats Pulpit and check it out. 131. Max, is it INHer?
I have heard his name pronounced in so many podcasts now, and for some reason, the pronunciation has not stuck with me any of the time.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I heard someone say it, and I feel like it's not INHer, but
I don't think it is, but I don't know. I can look this up while you go for it.
Let's go with INHer. It's fine. Obviously, you get the clip of Mike Vrabel, pushing him around at the pro day and kind of seeing some things, and so there you go. Ihanachor. Ihanachor. There it is. I knew it was wrong.
That's it.
So Ihanachor. So Max Ihanachor at 31. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that. Other Matt. I know this Matt also was going for it, but thanks, other Matt, for that.
I had it pulled up right before he was about to do it. He beat me to it. It's incredible.
So there you go. So so Max Ihanachor at 31. Obviously, everyone's seen the video of Vrabel at the ASU kind of pushing him around. And of course, he was talking about how he met with the Patriots, on a top 30 visit and so on and so forth. And so there's obviously some smoke connecting Ihanachor with the Patriots. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think he's a guy that's fairly new to the sport, and he has the size for it. And so you think, okay, well, if he's put some good stuff on tape and he's still new to the sport and he has the size for the sport, it makes sense to kind of bet on a guy like that. Now, I feel like there are probably 7 first-round tackles, which is kind of wild. He is, by consensus, the 7th out of 7. That doesn't mean he'll be taken 7th out of 7, but I think that he is kind of the end of that run of tackles. I heard someone say that there were 8. I don't know who the 8th one is, to be honest with you, outside of, but whatever. If someone's kind of putting that 8th guy into a first round grade, but I do feel like if you want a tackle that you realistically can see starting for you at some point this year, if someone goes down, or reasonably think that guy without much of a leap can start for you next year, it has to be in the first round. And so that's why I went Honachor here.
I saw a mock draft earlier today. Matt Miller, he has Honachor going to the Patriots in the 2nd round.
I saw that too.
Which I think is crazy. I think the way people are at least talking about Honachor right now, he might be someone you have to trade up for at this point. So I think if that is what the discussion ends up being, then we can have a discussion about the value of trading up and how far you'd have to move up and what you have to give up, all that. As things stand, at 31, I love the pick. Offensive line is a long-term need for you. And I have an article I'm writing for Pats Pulpit right now, but I think one of the key things to remember with the NFL draft, there's 2 things here. One, you get the guys for 4 years right off the bat. We're not just looking at 2026. We're looking at the next 4 years. The other part of that, you get first dibs at re-signing the guys. If you draft someone good, you can have them for 8 to 10 years in your building without much of an issue, as long as you handle all the negotiations properly.
Of course, yeah.
The possibility of taking your franchise quarterback and both of your tackles in 3 drafts in a row and just solidifying those spots, 3 positions where you pretty much only get those guys in the first round, meaning that for the next 10 years, those are 2 positions that you should never have to draft in the first round, and you're free to use those picks elsewhere. I think there's so much value there, and Honachor is awesome. He's a right tackle. He's big. He's physical. As long as they think he is someone that they can develop and can learn what they want to do, and he has the specific athletic traits you need. I know there was discussion about Vrabel working him out and kind of testing his core strength to see if it's where you want it to be. If he's passing those tests and Vrabel's happy with him, then I'm all for this.
Yeah, I agree. And we'll see. And listen, for those of you that are unfamiliar, this is my 4th mock draft now. And for me, I never draft a guy twice. So I drafted Blake Miller in my last one. I drafted Markel Bell in one of my other drafts. I'm drafting other tackles, but again, this is kind of that conceivable spot where you're looking at it saying, okay, if they want a tackle in this year's draft, and again, it's to me, it comes down to Blake Miller and Honachor. That to me are the 2 guys in the first round. Maybe you trade up for a guy, maybe a guy drops to you or whatever, but I think that those are the 2 guys that most likely will be there at 31. And then it's just a choice of which guy they like better, right? Maybe there's only one guy there. Who knows, right? So, but I think Honachor is a guy that, again, is a prospect that's on the rise. And again, you see Matt Miller talk about him in the 2nd round, and then someone comments on my mock draft about like, whoa, this guy, 2nd round, someone else, and it's like, he's number 30. We use mock draft database. I think mock draft database is a really good, just a consensus feel of it, because they aren't necessarily doing their own rankings. He's 37th on the consensus board. So like, he's not going at 63. It just doesn't make sense. Like, that just doesn't, listen, if you want to say they're going to trade down to 45 and he'll be there at 45, I can buy that. I don't buy that he'll be there at 63. I think that's crazy. So I don't think any of those tackles will be there at 63. I don't think it makes sense, especially for a league that is dying for offensive linemen.
Well, and this is like, if the Patriots were to pick at 31 with multiple tackles still on the board, not take a tackle, and then one of these guys falls into the 40s, you're in significant trade up territory at that point too.
100%.
To try to go,
which is also true.
And I also think, I think the one other name I'd mention for tackle in this group is Caden Proctor. He's 21 by consensus right now. Yeah. I don't think he falls, but he's one of those guys who looks like a great athlete, tests like a great athlete, has really good flashes on tape, but has had issues consistently turning that athleticism into the kind of production you would want from a first-round tackle. He's a unique prospect. He's the kind of guy where if he comes off the board in the top 15 because the team falls in love with the athletic traits, it wouldn't surprise me. And if he's there at 31, it wouldn't surprise me. It's going to take a specific type of team to want him.
Yep.
So if he were to fall to a range where you want to trade up, or he's just there at 31, I think he's in that conversation. I'm pretty sure I'm happy with all of these guys.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, Connor's asking about safety, about EMW, McNeil Warren. My mock draft 2.0 has the Patriots taking him at 31. Love the kid. Absolutely love the kid. So, but again, draft a different guy in every mock. And so that's why, but I am a big fan of him. Speaking of safety, this is my most controversial pick at 63. Danny Almonte. I mean Traden Stukes, cornerback / safety from Arizona. I have no idea how old he actually is. I don't know. I genuinely do not know how old he is. I saw 24. I saw 25. I saw 26. I don't know. You can't find it anywhere. I genuinely do not know how old he is. He did graduate high school in 2019. So he's pretty old. But his tape is awesome. And so overlooking the fact that he's an older prospect, I love what you get out of it. I think that the mentality, the character, the playmaking ability of him, I think he's an awesome player. Now, again, are you drafting him at 63? He's 67 on the consensus board right now. 67 on the consensus board. What do you want me to do? I can't draft him in the third round if he's 67 on the consensus board. I can't do that. And so is this a second round pick? Maybe not. I love this kid, though, and I wanted him in one of my mock drafts, and so here he is at 63. Is it a reach for the Patriots? Yeah, probably. Are they going to take a guy that's 26 in the second round? Probably not. But they did take a 25-year-old Kyle Duggar, and that didn't work out great for them, but at least for the beginning part of his contract, it did. And so, maybe it pays off with Stukes. We'll see what happens. But anyways, I like this pick. I like this guy. I just don't know. I think it's a little early in the second round, but I'm just a big fan of him, and I wanted him on my mock drafts, and so here we are.
I have mixed feelings about this because I see all of the reasons someone falls in love with this guy. I just get worried that I think it's very easy to see all these things on tape and fall in love with a guy, and then he gets to the NFL and you're just like, hey, he's okay with like these types of things. And what worries me with him, like he ran a 4.33 40.
Yeah,
he's fast. He did that like 6'1", 190. He didn't run a 3-cone. He's got an ACL tear in college. His short area quickness and all that doesn't look great. And I always worry if you're asking someone to play in the middle of the field, like every receiver can go inside or outside of you. So you need someone with some quickness to respond to that.
True.
And I just I think he is a lot of things that I like. And I suspect that in the NFL, he's going to be worse than the sum of his parts because he might just be an awkward fit in what today's league is. And when you add that to the fact that he's older and you don't feel like, well, at least we can get this guy for a second contract where he can at least be quality backup for us. And you don't feel like, he's young enough that you can talk yourself into there being some developmental runway for him. He does feel like the type of piece that a team that was just in the Super Bowl would take. Someone that's trying to compete right now would take. I just don't think that ends up being New England. I do think Vrabel's going to love the football character on this guy. Like that, I don't have a doubt in my mind. He probably goes in this range. Like the value makes sense. I just don't necessarily love it for New England. I'm going to pull up the draft order real quick in this range and just see like Chicago picks in this range and they could use a safety. I could totally see that. I could see Denver, the pick before New England, being interested in him. I could see Houston doing it. Heck, I could see San Francisco doing it. And the Bears picked twice in that range, actually, 57 and 60. I could see him coming off the board right before the Patriots pick.
Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah, it's one of those ones where like people didn't like it. I also think it's so funny in some of these picks on here. People are like, "There's no way that guy's gonna be available there. There's no way that guy's gonna go that high." But the next pick is Keion Crawford from Auburn, in the third round. That's insane. No one's gonna. It's like, well, he's 100 on the consensus board. Like, you want me to draft at 125? Like, what are you talking about? You know,
Well,
like,
here,
that's what I'm using.
Well, and this is where things get real wacky once you get to this point in the draft, because really, once you get past the top 60, you start getting like a 20 to 30 pick variance on consensus board to where guys get taken. So, like, in theory, there's a world where the edge defender you have, the Patriots taking round 3, comes off the board in the second round, and the safety of the Patriots taking round 2 comes off the board in the third round, even if their consensus board ranks don't move between now and draft.
Definitely true.
Makes them. I think last cycle we talked about RJ Harvey, I think, being someone we liked at like the top of the 4th round for running back for the Patriots. Didn't he go before the Patriots made their 3rd round pick?
I believe so. Yeah.
And
so that's
like,
just the way it works.
Not much you can do about that.
Right. Exactly. So I remember, and the one that I'll never forget is Luke Schoonmaker. Like, I loved Luke Schoonmaker. Loved him. And he was like a 6th round pick by consensus. And the Cowboys took him in the 2nd round. So it's just like, okay, I love him, but not there. So, it's just, it takes is one team. All it takes is one team to fall in love with a guy, and he ends up getting drafted earlier. And then sometimes, if enough of those guys that they love get drafted, some of those consensus guys that people like, but no one falls in love with, end up dropping down. And that's the way it works. So, anyways, that guy that we alluded to at pick 95, I have Keyron Crawford, edge from Auburn. Another guy late to football, basketball player. He's got basketball length. He's very long. His wingspan is long. He's very athletic. He played the buck position in Auburn's defense, which is really like Auburn's defense is something that they just asked their guys to do a lot in that spot. It's just a tough position to play. It's almost kind of like a star type of player, similar to that. It's not quite the same, but they rush the passer. They drop back to pass. They do a bunch of different things. Star isn't the right term, by the way. Either way, my goodness sake, I was going to say nevertheless, and either way, I combine the two. But nevertheless, this is a guy that can get after the passer and drop into coverage if he has to. He's got some length to him. Again, he's just kind of growing into his football body. And so I like the fact betting on a guy like that. I like. So that's who I have here at pick 95.
Yeah, I love it. I'm going to make a comparison here, which is not going to sound very favorable. But I'm going to go deep for some Patriots draft picks here. Remember Geno Grissom?
I do. Yes, I do.
Yeah. Super Bowl champion, Geno Grissom, drafted out of Oklahoma. Real athletic edge guy who never really found a home. But that's the type of athlete I like taking at this point in the draft because the ceiling is high. Like, if you're not an elite athlete, or at least a great athlete on the edge, you're going to struggle in the NFL. Yep. So these guys have a much higher floor if you're an elite athlete, a higher ceiling, and better on special teams and all the other things. Like, it's a developmental piece in year 1 and year 2. He's someone who can be your 3rd or 4th edge, hopefully, and also be a core special teamer. And you go from there and you see if he can reach the potential.
Yeah.
And, even if he doesn't reach it, this is where we talk about the long-term value. If this guy's a good special teamer, I end up signing him to a 2nd contract because of that. At a near 5 or 6, it all comes together. He makes like that Dietrich Wise 2nd contract jump. Like, he's got the athletic traits for it. He's the kind of guy you want in the building. So definitely be a fan of this one.
Agreed. Also, Nelson, thanks for asking this question. We appreciate it. He said, is there any way we can send in our mock drafts? There is a way you can do that. It is scrolling down here on the ticker at the very end. You can see it, but it's patsnationnetwork@gmail.com. You can email us a screenshot or just email us in the body of the email if you would like. That's fine too. Email us your mock draft and we will talk about it on here. Again, that's patsnationnetwork@gmail.com. So we'd love to have you send us your stuff. It'd be great. By the way, No Skips Radio here asked, did you look at any receivers at 95? I did consider a few receivers at 95. They were both ahead of consensus, but I looked at Bryce Lance and Ted Hurst. Hurst was a little too far away. He's 82 right now on consensus, where I was at 95. I didn't love that. Lance is close. He's 87, so it's close enough. But I ended up taking an edge rusher. I just thought we waited too long for edge rusher here. And if we waited till the fourth round, that there weren't going to be enough good ones available. And so, speaking of that, nice little segue into here. What I did was I used one of our 6th round picks to move up in the draft, 9 slots to go from 125 to 116. And in that slot, I took USC receiver Jacoby Lane. Great last name, fantastic last name, and I think he's a guy that is good in traffic. He's a good contested catch guy. He's a good red zone player. Not the most explosive receiver of all time, right? But I like what he brings to the table, and I think that he's a good fit for what Drake May likes to do.
Yeah, I'm personally not the biggest fan of this one. I think the more I've watched of Lane, the less I've liked him. I see the appeal. I see the fit with Drake May. I just worry about him getting on the field in the NFL because he is a contested catch, big body receiver who doesn't seem to run routes very well against physical players. And I look at that transition to the NFL, and it's like, well, he can't play outside. You have to play him as a big slot. And I don't think he's as good of a run blocker as someone like Matt Collins. He doesn't stretch the field the way Matt Collins has the capability of doing. You see, like, he has good athletic traits, and he tracks the ball well, and he makes great catches. Like, there's real things to love here on Lane. I just worry, like I said before, like he's going to be worse than the sum of his parts in what today's NFL asks out of players. Now, that said, today's NFL is looking for big body guys, I think, who can bully people. So maybe there is room for him. Like the ceiling on him, if this works out well, it's Jawan Jennings. It's that type of guy.
It's true.
So he's worth taking a pick on day 3, and I'm not that upset about it. We were talking about day 3 here. I just don't think I would trade up for him personally.
No, I get that. Listen, I totally understand it, and as I said, I did look at some guys around there. I didn't love kind of what was after that. I actually considered taking Stribling with the next pick instead of Jacoby Lane, right? Yeah. And so that was kind of that was like, oh, I don't know, I'm going back and forth. And so that was, and maybe that's more preferable, right? Maybe that's something that we'd prefer to do, is take someone like Stribling at the next pick and then take a different guy, here at this spot. But nevertheless, that's what I decided to do. So I can certainly see it, and we'll see. It's funny. What's really interesting about this stuff, right, is that we talk about these guys and we try to project what we've seen and what they can do, right? And then ultimately, they go out in the field and they either prove us right or they prove us completely wrong, right? Richard Sherman's a guy that was a converted wide receiver that people thought his biggest issue was that he couldn't play through physicality and that he wasn't physical enough. And then he turns out to be one of the most physical corners in the NFL and, a Hall of Famer, right? It's just like, you just don't know sometimes, right? And so again, that's not to say like, oh, Jacoby Lane's this great player. We don't know, right? But I think your point is a good one in the fact that, yeah, there are some traits that we can see that are transferable, but there's some hesitation there, right? And I certainly get that. He's a guy that I liked, but again, yes, there are definitely concerns.
And it's 91st percentile height, 91st percentile vertical jump, 97th percentile hand size. Right. There's just some athletic things there you can't teach.
Right.
So if you are able to develop the rest of what's going on there, and the thing with Drake May is he's willing to throw balls to jump ball guys. Like, if you can get on the same page with him a little bit, he'll trust you on stuff. So the opportunities would be there if he's getting on the field. I think my biggest concern is always just going to be that he is essentially a zero floor player.
Yeah.
Like, there's a world where he comes in and, he's on the roster but never active year 1 and then doesn't make the team year 2. And I mean, we're talking day 3. That's going to be the case for just about all of these guys.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So, all right, at 131, staying in the 4th round, another guy. This is a guy that I don't think I've heard anyone talk about this guy. And so that's kind of why he ended up on my mock draft. I almost went with Eli Raridan instead, but I decided to go with Joe Royer, the tight end out of Cincinnati. You throw on the tape and some of his after the catch, his ability to kind of break tackles and run away from guys after the catch. I liked. I think he's got to add a little bit of weight, but he is a willing blocker. He's not necessarily the best blocker, but he's a willing blocker. And I like the upside from a guy like Royer. He's a little bit more of a, seam kind of guy. And I believe the tweet that I attached to it was that I think it was Royer of the tight ends that were invited to the combine, I believe was the hold on. Yep. So of the tight ends that were invited to the combine, Joe Royer averaged 8.9 yards after the catch per reception. Second place was 4.0. So the yards after the catch, when you put the ball in his hands, he knows how to pick up yards. And that's what I like.
Yeah. I like him. I don't know if he has more than tight end 2 upside, but that's fine at this part.
Right.
He's not a vertical weapon. He's very much an underneath, maybe intermediate guy, solid blocker. But that's something you need long term. And I suspect they want to put 2 tight ends on the field a lot of the time going forward around Drake May. This gives you someone who, down the line, especially years 2, 3, and 4 of that rookie deal, you're expecting he can be your tight end too and be a quality player there. And he's not your Hunter Henry replacement long term, I don't think.
No.
But he's I think someone who can step in year 1 and be as good as Austin Hooper was, and at least replace that right away with Julian Hill.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you on that. I'm a big fan of that. So I like Royer. Patty says that he was the top tight end prospect coming into the season. So, we'll see. I like what he brings to the table there, and in the 4th round, especially late in the 4th round, I like taking a shot at it.
Yeah.
All right, my next pick might be my favorite pick of this mock. 5th round, 171. Adam Randall, running back from Clemson. Dude, 6'3", 220 as a running back, converted wide receiver. Just awesome. I love, what he brings to the table. I love to see a guy that made the transition to running back. And then when you watch him, he has better vision than you would expect from, a guy that made the transition from wide receiver to running back. Similar to Tyrone Tracy. I fell in love with Tyrone Tracy in the draft as well. And this is kind of that same kind of idea. Obviously, Tyrone Tracy went to Purdue and did the same thing. And I love the fact that Adam Randall can do this. He's a bigger guy than Tyrone Tracy is for sure. Doesn't really fit the mold of your regular running back, but I'm a big fan of trying that out and seeing what happens. And if nothing less, you're getting a guy that can be very good out of the backfield catching the ball.
Yeah, I have taken him in one of my mocks before, so we're 100% on the same page. I took him a little bit later in that mock, so I think his stock has risen here, which is awesome for him. And I see him as being someone Josh McDaniels could definitely like.
Yeah, that'd be fun. All right, next pick in the first of my 3 now 6th-round picks since I traded one of them. Micah Morris, offensive guard from Georgia, just an absolute house of a man. An absolute house of a man. And that's, he's a big dude. He's a big dude. And I think that's ultimately, that's where he's best, as being kind of that big guy in the middle, 6'5", 334, just a big guy, uses his strength well, has decent feet for a big guy though. moves okay for a big guy. I think Mike Onwenu's kind of that same way where he's just a big guy, but he moves a little bit better than people expect.
Yeah.
Morris is a guy that I thought would be higher on people's boards, especially coming from Georgia and what Georgia was able to do, but he just seems to kind of drop down people's boards. I like taking a shot at him, especially in the 6th round. I mean, he's a guy that can give you some real depth in the interior of the offensive line.
Yeah, like you can't teach size.
Yeah,
I'm all in. It's something they need. We've talked about that in depth on here for a while now. That size and physicality, strength, all things they need in the interior of the line. And as what do you call it? As a wise man named Matt Groh once said about, if you want to be a fast team, you got to draft speed. You want to be a strong team, you got to draft strength.
Yep. It's very true. Very true. All right, 6202. I'm sorry. I went with Red Murdoch. This guy is so much fun, man. He's so much fun. He's a throwback linebacker is what he is. He's got a little bit of the sideline to sideline, but he's just not super freaky athletic. He's just not. That's just not who he is. 6'2", 232. So he's not really even that big. But my God, when he hits you, he freaking hits you. 17 forced fumbles in the last 3 years. Now he played at Buffalo, which I understand is a smaller program and everything else, and the competition isn't quite as good. 17 forced fumbles in 3 years is outrageous. That's just outrageous. And you throw the film on, and whether it's in coverage, whether it's behind the line of scrimmage, whether it's meeting a linebacker, meeting a running back on the hole, he is just out there smashing dudes' faces in. And that's the type of stuff that I want to see from this. You saw a little bit of that from Christian Ellis last year. I want more of that physicality from the defense. And even if he's a guy that can only really play on running downs and special teams to start with, I love him. And Patty says he may not be a great fit, and maybe he isn't a great fit, but I love the way this kid plays football, and so I want to get him into a mock draft.
Yeah, I do. I do think Vrabel would like this guy. I get concerned about someone who's a rundown only player at this, like in 2026. Yeah, I get where we are in the draft. I think he's fun. I think he's the type of guy Vrabel would like. He can play special teams too. If you can generate that kind of force hitting people, I think you can find a role within an organization somewhere.
Yeah. So there you go. So we'll see. I'm not sure if he's a guy that will even get drafted, but I just love the way he plays. So at 212, I went with George Gums Jr., edge from Florida. How about an edge defender that started out as a wide receiver and then switched to tight end and then switched to edge defender? He obviously has great athleticism coming from Florida, transferred from Northern Illinois over to Florida. I just again, you're kind of doing the same thing. And again, it's kind of one of those things where it's like you're drafting two edge defenders that both have questions about, whether they, but I also think too that part of it is, well, let's teach these guys. I believe in our coaching staff. I believe that we can coach these guys up, right? We saw what happened with Elijah Ponder halfway through the season, right? Undrafted free agent turns into a guy that, has multiple sacks and is doing all these things. So I look at it and say, well, why can't we do that with some other guys? Let's see what happens, And again, you're drafting at 212 here. I love the idea of a guy that is just like, wide receiver's not working. All right, let's switch to tight end. Tight end's not working. All right, let's switch to edge defender. And he's just working his butt off. And he transfers from Northern Illinois over to Florida. And I just think, let's see if he can grow into the spot. Let's see if he can grow in there. And so, anyways, I like taking the shot on him.
And I love the Elijah Ponder shout here. Just take athletes at this position,
right?
Because you're not going to see quality NFL players on the edge who aren't athletes. So just don't bother with the other guys. And then, I think your worst case with a pick like this is still that he ends up being someone who can contribute on a special teams for a year or two, or at least be useful in your practice squad where you can try to develop him and see if you can mold him into something more. I do also love the name.
Yeah,
it's
a great name.
Electric.
That's a great name.
Yeah. Would love to hear, Bob Sosey Gums with a takedown call. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, all in.
So, yeah, I'm a fan of that. So, and then the final pick here at 242 in the 7th round, I have Jordan Vandenberg from Georgia Tech, D tackle from Georgia Tech. He's a guy that I feel like is going to be rising up the draft board, but right now he is at 300 on the consensus board. At his pro day, he ran a sub 540, a 4.19 shuttle, a 35-inch vertical jump, and did 35 reps on the bench at 6'3", 310. So he's a guy that he's just a freak athlete. His tape is up and down. His tape is inconsistent, as you can imagine, since he's getting drafted in the 7th round and not like the 2nd round based on those numbers, right? So obviously his tape is inconsistent, but my goodness, when he hits the hole correctly and he gets off his guy, he is explosive out of his stance and is a problem in the backfield. And so again, 7th round, I'm saying let's bet on traits. Let's just see what happens, and let's try to build this guy and see what we can do. And so that's where I'm going with it.
You sold me, Pat.
So there you go. How about that? And Brandon mentions I don't have a corner. You're right. I don't have a cornerback. I feel like corner is a need for them at some point, but it's not a glaring need for them right now, right? You have Gonzo, you have Davis, you have Marcus Jones, and then you have some guys. I do have the safety pick, right? I have a secondary pick, but not and again, Stooks is a guy that played corner in college as well. If you want to put him at corner or whatever, but he's got some position flexibility back there if you need. But I think we have guys at the corner position right now that I feel okay with. Maybe not great, but okay with. So we'll see. But yeah, that's what we got. So that was my mock. Again, if you want to, find out more and read some of the breakdowns that I have on them. Also see some clips that I posted as well. Go on to Pat's Pulpit and take a look. So, all right, you want to do a quick ad break and then we'll get into our mock draft?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to do this mock real quick.
Yeah, I think so too. The playoff push is heating up and tournament hoops are here. And there's no better way to cash in if you're right on the high-flying hoops action than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. Every bucket, every dime, and every win means more when you're playing on Prize Picks. And with their brand new Teams Picks market, you can now pick game winners, spreads, and totals on top of the player picks you already know. So cash in if you're right during all the clutch buckets, slam dunks, and Cinderellas this spring with team picks on Prize Picks. And again, this is, team picks available now in 35 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, Washington, and more. It makes it super easy to pick game winners, spreads, and totals, all on Prize Picks. So what are you going to do? You're going to download the Prize Picks app. You're going to put in the code CLNS. Then go and pick your first game winner, pick your spread, or pick your total as the playoff push rolls on. When you put in a $5 lineup, you'll get $50 in daily fantasy lineups. Again, download the Prize Picks app, put in the code CLNS to get $50 in daily fantasy lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right. So let's do this thing.
Get up.
So we're going to mock it up. Do you want to do the consensus board or do you want to do the PFF board?
Let's do the consensus board.
All right, consensus board it is. Draft for needs, that's fine. We don't need to do just these things. We'll do turbo, which means we hit this and we'll be on the clock.
Let's go for it.
Loading, start the draft. Okay. No big surprises here. Oh, that's interesting. No big surprises here. Thieneman goes late at 27. Blake Miller at 30, right before us to Miami.
What's the top 5 look like? I'm curious.
McNeil Warren goes early. So the top 5 right now is Omar Cooper.
I meant the first 5 picks.
The top 5. There we go. I was going to say you can see them. Fernando Mendoza, David Bailey, Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, and Ruben Bain.
Not crazy.
Interesting. It's an interesting one. I think it makes sense. Jeremiah Love at 6 to the Browns feels weird, but not out of their realm of possibility, I would say.
This would be a very interesting class if it fell this way.
Yeah, I agree.
Plausible. So, definitely plausible.
Yeah. And that's the thing, Miami, though, takes Monroe Freeling at 11 and then takes Blake Miller at 30 on a trade up. What in the world is Miami doing? Okay, whatever. Mesidor goes 17. That's pretty early for Mesidor, but that's okay. Keldrick Falk is a guy I like.
I'm not even sure if I like Mesidor at like 31 for the Patriots.
Yeah.
His combination of being as old as he is and breaking out as late as he did and being best as a pass rusher from the inside scares me. That screams like rotational rusher at best, and I think that's very possible there. And yeah,
I'm with you. I'm actually 100% with you there.
All right, so top 5 on the board
for us. Top 5 on the board: Omar Cooper Jr., the wide receiver from Indiana; Casey Concepcion, Cassius Howell; Caleb Banks; Ty Simpson. Obviously, we're not drafting Colton Hood, Zion Young. And here's Ahanachor as well, is obviously on this board too. So there are a few interesting options here. I actually like Omar Cooper quite a bit. He hasn't really been available to me in most of the mocks that I've done. He's a good player, man. He's just a good player. I like what he brings to the table.
I like Cooper. I like him as a second round. I think Concepcion to me is a clear tier above Cooper.
I can see that.
I like Cooper a lot for his tier. I also would take Concepcion over him in a heartbeat. Cassius Howell is a guy who I actually have not gone deep on yet, but I believe is the consensus pick for the Patriots right now.
He is, yeah.
Consensus. He's got shorter arms, right?
That's putting it mildly, but yes.
That would be a fun little debate to have in New England. I'm sure we're gonna have to have that discussion here at some point in the next less than a month until the draft now.
He's got like 30. He's got like 30-inch arms.
That's crazy. Look, that's clearly something they don't seem to care about that much based on Campbell last year. So I think he's an interesting guy here. I personally would just be between Concepcion and Iheanacho here.
Yeah. So here's the other question that I have.
We did Iheanacho in the mock. So
we did. So I kind of feel like we don't need to take him here. But here's the question that I have for you. Again, we're just talking about consensus-wise. I love Jennings Dunker. He's a guard. He's not a tackle. So I guess Tiernan is the next guy. He's 71. So you're talking about if you're not taking a tackle here, you're taking a tackle you're taking one of these guys down here, Bowery or Markel Bell or Brian Parker or someone like that.
You're probably going tackle with your first pick on day 3 or your third round pick, depending on how the board falls.
Yep.
I think Concepcion is the best player on the board, period, at this point. I think Iheanacho might end up being your best value. The fact that there's so many guys we like, there it is. That was the trade options.
So 38 is the next conceivable trade. Then it's Philadelphia at 54. So 38 is only 7 spots down. Mike, I'm wondering. Yeah, see, 69 isn't enough.
So I think can we move up? Can we package 31 and 95? Let's say. Does that get you 59
that says 80
there?
That says 86. Oh, 59. Got it. 49% chance to be accepted.
You move back 7 picks here, and you move up from 95 to 59.
And what if we threw in like 202, just to bump it up? Let's throw in 202. We'll bump it up to 57%, and let's see what happens. But I think the value here is you're right about this because you're jumping all the way from 95 to 59. You're going back 7 picks. But you're jumping up 36 picks. Like that's a big jump. That's a full round jump.
when 95 is in the tier of guys who you're basically getting the pick of the litter of the guys who will go at the beginning of day 3 at
Right.
that point. And 59 is like you are getting prime second round.
Yeah, end of the second round. I mean, and then you have 2 picks that are very close together. So, all right, here we go.
You get
Let's
2 picks in that tier, which I think is big.
So let's see what happens here. Do you want to do, maybe let's change this to 212 instead of 202. Okay. Not that it matters, but let's do that. And the trade is accepted.
All right, move back to 38.
And so they did trade up for Cooper. That's interesting.
Yeah. Interesting.
Then Howell, Simpson, Concepcion goes. Iheanacho goes as well. And Zion Young goes.
If this is the way it fell in real life, I would probably have trade down to 38 and consider trading back up to 34 or 35 or 6 to try to get one of those guys.
Yeah, you're probably right.
All that said, let's see who's on the board right now.
So we have Caleb Banks. We have Brandon CC, that can't be right. We have Pregnon, who I just love so much. Lee Hunter, Chris Johnson, Jacob Rodriguez, Malachi Lawrence. Yeah, Chase Bazontes, R. Mason Thomas. So that's a guy that I like too there.
I think R. Mason Thomas, I took him one of my mocks. The Patriots did a 30 visit with him. I think he's the type of edge rusher they'd like. The other name I'll mention, if you scroll down just a little bit more here, Anthony Hill, I think is someone we have not talked about enough. So we've talked about Jacob Rodriguez, doing a little tape watch with one of my friends over the weekend. Shout out John Lambarakis. Jacob Rodriguez is a very good pass defending linebacker in terms of pass coverage. He's very good at it. He makes good decisions in coverage. He sticks with guys. He plays zone. He's not much of a run defender.
Right.
Anthony Hill, worse in coverage, but is an absolute freak athlete who has a higher ceiling of being able to play at different points around formations. Athletically, he's not too far off from someone like Jamie Collins, just shifted a little bit more towards pass coverage instead of pass rusher. But I look at the way the Patriots found success in the playoffs, the ability to have so many players who could blitz or drop into coverage. Someone like Hill interests me. This is a guy who could, in theory, be your weak side linebacker to play next to Spillane, who's also really going to be a part of your pass rush, and he's going to be part of your coverage units. He's going to be a run stuffer, and he can do everything. I don't think he does anything as well as the one thing Jacob Rodriguez does well, but it all comes down to what you ask your players to do.
Yeah.
All that said, I think I like R. Mason Thomas as the guy here. I like him more than Malachi Lawrence or Jacob Rodriguez.
I think you're probably right. About that. Again, I'm so tempted to take Pregnon, but it just doesn't make sense. You just don't need a guard unless you're trading Mike Onwenu before you have to resign him, right? There's just no reason to take Pregnon here, other than the fact that I freaking love the kid and I think he's going to be an absolute stud. But I think R. Mason Thomas is the pick. So you want to lock it in?
Yeah, I feel very good about that.
All right, let's do it. 38, R. Mason Thomas. Pregnon goes the very next pick. Jeremy Bernard, who a few people in the chat asked about. I think Jeremy Bernard is a good player. I think he's a guy that they could be interested in. AJ Halsey's a guy that someone asked about in the chat as well. I like him quite a bit as well as a safety from LSU. Rodriguez goes 51. Malachi Lawrence goes the pick after, and Anthony Hill goes before both of them at 48. So, interesting. That's interesting. Pregnon goes the very next pick.
There's a name that's screaming out to me right now, and it's going to seem crazy to double dip at the same position, but pass rush is a need. And Derek Moore here in the second round is someone who I think is such a good scheme fit for the Patriots want out of that position, that you have real questions about edge rusher going forward. As we saw in the Super Bowl, it's a position where you just can't have too many guys.
It's a good point.
The fact that you have 2 seconds here, I don't hate just double dipping and taking Derek Moore.
Yeah. You know what? I don't hate it either. I mean, I love, Stowers is sitting here, which I like a lot. I think Raritan is a guy that again, he's not as good as Stowers is, but he's a guy that we can take a little bit later that does kind of something similar to what Stowers does. And ultimately, when I look at the rest of this board, I love Malachi Fields. I think
Antonio Williams.
And Antonio Williams too. Keelan Rogers is a good player, but again, he's a guard. You don't need a guard right now.
You can go
Grayson
Kieran
Halton is a
here.
guy that I like quite a bit as well.
Yeah.
Yes, Tiernan is a guy that if you wanted, we talked about him before, right?
Is Zachy Wheatley still on the board here, the Penn State safety?
He might be. He is, in
He's
fact.
at 83 on this board. Okay.
Yeah.
He's someone I could also see the Patriots liking a lot.
Yep. He could be a candidate at 63 too. You know what I mean?
Yep. I like Stowers. I would not consider Stowers this high.
I think it's too early. I worry about him.
When I think he does things that can make him very valuable in the NFL. I also struggle with taking a guy who can't block and with the NFL list today in the top 100, unless he is already in elite receiving tight end, which he's not. He's raw. And he's like a weird, like he's a late position switch. So he's both raw and older right now.
Yeah.
Which is just one of those combinations. Like it can work. I wouldn't stay away from him entirely. Especially if you would consider him even at 63, depending on how this board falls.
Right.
But there's a lot of guys I think I would prefer him for the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Derek Moore's the pick. I think the other part of it is that Derek Moore's a really good run defender as well, and he's a bigger guy, whereas R. Mason Thomas is a kind of a smaller, faster guy. Not that Derek. I mean, you look at Derek Moore; his success in the past is great.
Yeah,
but you're talking about a guy that's 6'3", 260. Like he's a big kid, right? And so he can set the edge really well. R. Mason Thomas kind of doesn't do that quite as well. So you're doubling up at edge, but you're kind of getting two different types of players. So I like that. So let's go Derek Moore.
And the way that Vrabel likes to play his schemes, even though it's a 4-down front a lot of the time, you have different body types at each edge defender spot. Ask them to do like you have one side that's a little bit more pass rusher and one side that's a little bit bigger body, and that allows you to lean into that a little bit more here.
Definitely true. By the way, if we didn't already have Marcus Jones, D'Angelo Pons, I would be banging the table for D'Angelo Pons because he's so similar to Marcus Jones in the fact that he's a smaller guy. I mean, you're talking about 5'9", 173. He's small, but my God, is he competitive? He's so competitive. He works his butt off. He pushes hard. He's an awesome player, and I'm a big fan of his. But again, at his size, it just doesn't make sense when you already have Marcus Jones on the team. I don't think, at least. So they could go safety here. They could go, Caleb Tiernan perhaps at tackle if they wanted to do that. Some people are high on him. Some people aren't super high on him, but
I would still hold off until the next round on tackle.
Yeah, and I also think Tiernan, a lot of people, I mean, you see they have him listed here at tackle, but then when you go to his first look, he's listed, he's graduate. That's true. He's graduate. But there are some people that think that he will have to push in. Well, he's 6'7", but doesn't quite have the what's it called? The athleticism. The athleticism. Thank you to play tackle. So that worries me. I'm not going to take a chance on that.
I think Max Clare is interesting here at tight end. If you scroll down a little bit, he is the Ohio State guy. He's a good blocker. He might also just be a high-end tight end too, but he's a good blocker, and I think he can get on the field year one because of that.
Yeah.
Surratt, I think, is interesting. Genesis Smith interests me. Kyle Lewis interests me.
I love Kyle Lewis.
A little bit more. Igmanosin, I like. Romello Height, they did a 30 with. I think they did a 30 with Zachy Wheatley as well.
I think they did. Yeah, I think they did.
Ted Hurst. I would not be opposed at this point to another trade down. If we could do another one of those trade down, trade up type things, like we can package 63 and 125 here and get. Let's see, where's the Raiders?
Vegas is. How about 68 and 98? Whoa.
Can we go 131 instead?
That's got 59% chance of working, my friend.
Let's do it.
Let's see what happens.
And we could probably
trade not accepted.
Let's bump up from 131 to 125 then.
To 125. Okay. Again, we could throw in one of our late picks too if we want.
I don't mind. It's only a 6-spot difference there. So
that's a good point. And the trade was accepted.
And we probably go Claire at 68 if he's there.
Yeah, so again, we're moving back 5 spots and then moving up what's that, 27 spots later. I mean, that's to me feels like a no-brainer. They traded up 4 pawns.
Okay.
Fields goes, Stukes, Zachariah Branch goes. So
I'd go Antonio Williams or Max Clare here, or you could do Oscar Delp if you want. Honestly, I don't hate Antonio Williams here because I like the depth still on the board at tight end, and I think Williams
yeah, I was gonna say I like Williams here. I think Williams is a guy that can take over for Pop Douglas at the slot position. Ultimately, I
a
think
little
he's
more size too than Pop.
yeah, I think he's ultimately going to be a slot player. Still decently young. He's going to be 22 when the season kicks off. So I like the idea of him in the slot, and again, a little bit bigger than Pop Douglas in the slot, and so I like that pick. Antonio Williams is the pick.
This is the first draft where we've worked the board,
Yeah,
and moved around, and I like how it's working out for us.
I do too. And I actually like this quite a bit because I don't love Max Clare. I do, however, really like Oscar Delp, and he's the guy that's sitting on the board in front of us at tackle, at tight end. I'm sorry.
I lean strongly towards that. I just want to double check. There's no one else on the board. That's
of course, yeah.
Scroll down a little bit. That's like wow.
Jake Slaughter.
I like
Jalen
him over
Farmer.
I like him over Roush.
Yeah.
I like him over Trigg. I like him obviously over Jacoby Lane that we talked about.
Yeah. Big Christmas is here. Justin Jolly.
The only guy I'd consider here maybe is someone like Jude Bowery at tackle if we want to pull the trigger on a tackle soon, but we have a pick in that range. So
we do.
I'm okay with that.
We do have a pick in that range. So we have Bowery, So we're at 131. We have Bowery, Markel Bell, Cage Casey. Isaiah. I mean, that's obviously going down the list, but
I'm okay sitting on tackle here and taking Delp.
I think
No Radio asks, does the lack of production from Delp concern you? Yes, but we're talking end of round 3 here, and he's a really good athlete, which I think ends up mattering more for, NFL projections at the position. Especially tight end is a position where you can get a lot of empty calories in terms of yards. Like it's a position where you can just take a lot of checkdowns for 10 yards on 3rd and 17, or for 7 yards on 2nd and 15 or whatever. And
it's a good point.
Yeah, so I think Delp has the traits. It's just a matter of living up to it, and I like taking the risk.
Yeah, it's a good point. So let's take Delp here at 98, and then let's see who drops to us at tackle at 131. Looks like I saw a few two tackles go off the board. Markel Bell, Jude Bower. So this is what's it. So this is really interesting because I was actually thinking this as I'm looking at it, and I was like, us trading 131 instead of 125 might come back to bite us in the ass. And guess what? Jude Bowery goes 125. Markel Bell goes 127. So we lose both those guys because we traded 131 instead of 125 instead of 131. Brian Parker goes. Crownover goes. So we are SOL on the tackle front, unless we want to go Cage Casey, or we can go, one of these kind of Drew Shelton, Emil Wagner's a guy I kind of like a little bit later on in the draft. But yeah, I don't love Casey. I feel like he's like another guy I feel like might have to play inside. Austin Barber's here as well, who isn't bad. He's not great, but he's not terrible. He's obviously, as you can see, a much better run blocker than he is a pass blocker, which obviously is concerning. He was a left tackle only at Florida. But, 6'6", 314, he's not terrible.
Or is Travis Burke, the Memphis tackle?
Yes. Let's see.
He might end up being really low on the.
I think he is. It's Chris Adams.
Might have to search his name, Burke.
Let's see. Unless he already got taken. I wonder if he already got taken. He had to. I mean, he's not even in here. There's no way he's not in here.
The consensus boards, like the mock draft database, I think has him in the 300. So I think it's entirely possible PFF does not have him in here.
Oh, okay. So maybe he isn't in here. Okay.
Yeah. But I think he's so a note on Travis Burke, who Nelson Lloyd's mentioning in the chat. Patriots did a 30 visit with him. The Eagles now have also done a 30 visit with him. Feels notable when you see two teams with this kind of, people respect both front offices when they both bring in the same guy for a 30 who's lower ranked. That's something that
I agree.
That to me is a telltale sign of a guy who might be projected to go late day 7, who ends up going top of the 4th round. Because once you get to this point and the board gets pretty flat, it's like, all right, well, all it takes is one of those two teams to like him.
This is very true. That's actually a really good point. That's actually a really good point. So,
by the way, here, Trey Zune, he might have to switch to guard at the next level, but he's a good player. And
yeah.
I'd probably do that here. And I will say at this point, if you can't get a tackle, you can take a tackle next year in the first round. Like, you should have your solution for this year on the roster, so you can do that next year if you want.
That's also a great point. Now that guy then has to start, obviously, but that's okay. That's okay. So Stribling is sitting here too. By the way, just to kind of come back here, we did go edge in the first 2 picks: R. Mason Thomas, Derek Moore. We went Antonio Williams, wide receiver, in the 3rd round, and then Oscar Delp at pick 98 in the 3rd round as well, tight end. So the board's kind of open for us. We can kind of do whatever we want. Are you leaning Trey Zune, you think?
I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. 6'6", 319, older prospect, but, I'm okay with that. Actually played some center this year, too.
Yeah, left tackle and center. I think he probably lands at guard in the NFL.
Yeah.
Really good pass blocker there. Really big guy.
Yes. So, all right, let's do it. Trey Zune. Let's pick at 131. All right, so 171. 171. Yeah, I don't know if I'm trying to see if there's anyone really kind of notable. J.C. Davis, Joe Royer went. V.J. Payne is a safety I like. Michael Taffy, another safety, goes from Texas. Jeff Caldwell just went 170. So I guess what positions are we looking at? We can look at kind of that. We have Lorenzo Styles here late, but these are all, I guess we're at 171 already. So Kalen Black, Heidenreich is a guy that I think makes sense for the Patriots, but again, you're not drafting a fullback in the 5th round, so that doesn't really make much sense to me. There's a bunch of guys that I like on the interior of the defensive line. Now, most of them are gone, but I like Nick Barrett. I like Albert Regis. I actually like Skylar Gill-Howard as well. Those are all guys that I'm.
Barrett. What's Barrett's profile?
So Barrett is like a nose tackle. He is 6'3", 322. Big boy.
Fine.
Very good against the run.
Be fine with that pick here with Tonga gone.
Yeah.
Very clear. He steps in as your nose tackle this year. Probably your backup year 1. Hopefully your starter year 2. Clear path to being on the roster. I like it.
All right, let's do it. It might be a little bit of a reach here at 171, but I don't mind it.
It's not big risk at all.
I don't mind it. All right, that Dixon, who I like. Heidenreich is here. Tyreek Sapp. Well, we don't need another edge rusher, but let's see. What should we look at? You want to look at corner?
I'm down.
Linebacker.
We could always go punter at one of these.
Well, I was actually just saw the special teams. I was like, I wonder if we should go punter. We do have to go punter at some point, I think.
Yeah. I like Domani Jackson. I've taken him in my mocks.
He's
a good athlete, but I don't know if we need to take him again.
We could. I don't think we've taken him on here. So
we haven't. So we can do that if we want.
So we could do that. We do have a pick. We have a pick coming up in 7 spots too. So But if you like Domani Jackson, I'm okay with that. If the chat has anyone that they're interested in. Yeah, Maddie Sox said Stribling or double dip tight end, but
is the other tackle from Penn State still on the board?
Let's take a
Drew
look.
Shelton.
Drew Shelton went already.
Shelton's gone, yeah.
Yep. So, all right, do you want to go?
Tanner Corzio, I think. Marlon Klein, also from Michigan, people like at tight end if we want to double dip there.
Yeah, if we wanted to double dip a tight end. Now, what's interesting, Koziel is a guy who had better numbers last year, or better, at least graded out better last year, had 94 catches last year as opposed to 74 this year. But, he's a guy that has production, like serious production in the last 2 years. His run blocking is not very good. He is a big guy, but his run blocking is not very good. So
yeah, he transferred up from Ball State to Houston.
I was going to say
that's the thing.
Yeah,
he's a big guy, 6'7". I'd be okay with Koziel here.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Or Delm Bentley, I think people like.
I was going to say
really
Bentley too.
I'm totally okay with the double dip at the position.
Bentley's a little bit better of a run blocker, but only has the 1 year production. So that's really the question, right? He's a lot smaller, 6'4", 259.
Yeah.
But
let's go Koziel.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go Koziel, and then maybe we can take that corner next. Ooh, Wetchen goes 197. Aaron Anderson's a guy that I like. Another kind of slot guy there. Let's see, corner. You want to take Devontae Jackson here?
Not mad at it.
All right, let's do it, and then we'll take punter at the next pick. How's that sound? Actually, let's wait till the 7th round and take a punter. What the hell?
Okay.
All right, Devontae Jackson at 198. And so now our final actual pick here, not actual pick, but our final positional player pick. We took a tight end. We took 2 tight ends, actually. We took 2 edge rushers. What about a safety? Styles is a guy that I took. Actually, we took Lorenzo Styles with Keegan last week.
I don't know if any of these safeties interest me that much at this point. But,
yeah, Wisniewski's an interesting guy. His grades are really good, and I think I could be wrong about this, but I feel like he put up. I feel like his numbers were very good at his pro day. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but
I don't remember.
Yeah, he ended up with 36.5 inch for 10-2 broad, 20 reps on the bench. So
all right.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
Kind of like in the box safety type player,
Yeah, sure.
6'4", 220. Yeah. All right, let's do it. Let's do that. And then yeah, screw it. Let's go punter. You want to go punter here?
Rip it. Are we going Stonehouse?
Right. We are going Stonehouse. It's my guy. Love Jack Stonehouse. So he's the unless you feel strongly about Eckley or
no,
Tom
I like
Doman.
Stonehouse. So
Brett Thorson's a fun dude. Look at this guy. Oh, they don't even have it. Come on, he's like 27. Says he's from Australia and he came over here to play football. He's so old. I love it. But Stonehouse is the guy. All right. Right. Look at that. I like this one. So they're grading the draft, which of course they don't grade this one because it's not through their board. But I like this trade down quite a bit. I just think that this makes a ton of sense to go from 31 and give up 95 and 212 and move back 7 spots to 38, but then move all the way up to 59. I think makes a ton of sense. It lets you get another guy in that range at the end of the 2nd round, right?
Yeah.
And then so you end up with the 2 edge defenders there. Then you do exactly the same thing at 68. At 63, I'm sorry. You move back 5 slots, but then you pick up with that early 3rd rounder, you pick up a late 3rd rounder and give up a late 4th rounder. I think that makes a ton of sense. And again, this is a situation where if you're sitting at 131 and you've already given up that 125 pick and you're sitting there and you see those 2 tackles like we did come off the board, right? You're moving up in that spot, right?
Yeah.
We obviously couldn't do that, but you're moving up in that spot to get one of those tackles if that's what you want. So anyway, but I like what we did there. Again, Antonio Williams and then Oscar Delp. And then the Trey Zune pick, who again is probably going to play guard in the NFL. Nick Barrett, your new or your, I guess, rotational nose tackle. Tanner Kozel, kind of just another big tight end. Corner Damani Jackson. Strong safety Cole Wisniewski, and then Jack Stonehouse as your punter. So I'm a fan of that. Fan of that mock. I think we did a pretty nice job.
And make sure to tweet that before you close it out, Pat.
I will. You know what I did is I saved it.
There you go.
I saved the picture, so I won't forget it. So, but yeah,
is that it?
I think that's it.
And how long is it until the draft now? I mean, we're getting there. It's the 23rd.
We're getting pretty close. We're getting pretty close. 3.5 weeks. Yeah. It's quick. It comes up quick on you, man. All of a sudden it's like mid-April and you're like, oh my God, the draft is here. And you know, so not that I'm complaining.
Should we spend this time to tease what our off-season series is going to be this year?
Yes, we should. We should have done this. To be honest with you, we dropped the ball on this. We apologize. We should have done this a few days ago. We didn't, but we should have done this a few days ago. But it is this year, as you know, because of math, the 10-year reunion of the 2016 New England Patriots. And so we're going to do another rewatch series for you, but it's going to be different from the 21 games because we're not doing all 21 games from the year 2016. There's too many games. Instead, we're going to do 3 postseason games and 3 regular season games. Yeah. We're not going to tell you what regular season games they are just yet, but we are going to. That's what we're going to do. We may even end up doing 4.
Yeah, we might. I think we're still figuring out how many. Like there were 15 games in 2016 that featured Tom Brady. I don't think we were probably going to rewatch those first 4 again. I don't think we are going to learn a lot from those. But of those 15, including playoff games with Brady in the 16 season, definitely going to rewatch all the playoff games and have some sample of the regular season. And for those who weren't watching last year, we rewatched all of the games from the 21-game win streak and the 22nd, which was the game they lost to the Steelers, which was that was a lot of time we spent on that last year, but it was a lot of fun. So we encourage you in the offseason too to go back and check out those if you're curious. We had Matt Chatham on to talk about the game against the Giants where he gets the start and a touchdown early in the first quarter in that one. So check those out. But this should be a fun way to get us through the dead period in between the draft and when real football starts. And I think we'll have a little fun reliving what was arguably the best Patriots team ever assembled.
When Tom Brady came back from suspension, the Patriots had 3 games that were within a touchdown. One of them was a loss to Seattle by 7 points. One of them was a win against the Jets, a comeback win against the Jets 22-17 by 5. And one of them was a win against the Ravens by 7. Other than that, all of their wins came by 10 plus, and most of them were by 13 or 20 points. They were just blowing teams out all year long. And that's just like they were a wagon in 2016. Yeah. They were such a wagon in 2016 that Gronk got hurt, and it didn't matter. It just it didn't make a difference.
Well, and it's Gronk misses really I think it's just the entire back half of this season. I'm pretty sure week 10 is the last game he plays that year.
Yeah.
Brady, misses the first 4 games of the season. And you still lose twice.
Right.
Incredible how good that group was. Probably the best Patriots offensive line that got put together for the late dynasty period.
Yeah.
It's such a good defense. Brady really was spectacular that year. I mean, if he doesn't get suspended, I think he wins MVP.
He should have won MVP anyways. I mean, it's
He should
stupid
have,
that he
but-
didn't win MVP.
But he was unbelievable that year. And then you look at the games they did lose. It's a 7-point loss home to the Seahawks. That's a prime Seahawks team. They won the NFC West that year. They end up bowing out to the Falcons in the divisional round to end up going to the Super Bowl. But that was a very good Seahawks team.
Yeah.
Not peak Seahawks, really, but still very
No,
good.
but a good one.
And the only other game you lose is a game at home against the Bills where you basically don't have a quarterback.
Yeah. Jacoby Brissett was playing with a broken hand. Like, it just, he couldn't throw the ball.
Hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
A rookie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, I think you look back on it. To me, one of the big things for if you can really be a contender or not, I like to see teams win multiple types of games throughout the year. You obviously get that early winning without Brady, in particular the Thursday night game against the Texans, where you're down to Brissett and you steamroll them because of special teams and you force 3 turnovers and, running game takes over. You have 185 rushing yards in that one, but the fact that you're able to do it in 3 phases in that game and support a rookie third-round quarterback in Brissett.
Yep.
And then the other game that stood out to me is the game in Denver. Remember, this is 2016, so this is the season after losing the AFC Championship game out there. And I'm sure this might end up being one of the games we talk about. We'll see. But that game was put late in the season because, obviously no more Peyton, but this is an AFC Championship rematch. They played 2 of the previous 3 seasons in the AFC Championship game, going back to 2013. A place where the Patriots have struggled. Brady does not complete a pass in the first quarter. And you only win by 13 points. Like it's a low scoring 16-3 game. You blow them out though.
Right.
Like it's never close. You dominate that game. And I think being able to go out, know your offense could have a stinker and you could still control a game like that. I felt very good about what that team could do in the playoffs. And outside of essentially 1 quarter against the Falcons, they dominated the playoffs too.
It's true. It's true. And listen, that Dolphins, that Broncos team, I'm sorry, was, Trevor Siemian and Justin Forsett. But still, it doesn't matter. It's like, it's one of those ones where it's like, yeah, we're better than you. We know that we're better than you. We're going to beat you, And so I like that a lot. So I agree. That was the
offseason they traded Brock. Or Brock signed in Houston?
I think they traded Osweiler to Houston, and they ate a ton of his money or something like that. I'm pretty sure.
No, I think that was when Houston traded him to Cleveland.
Oh, you're right. Houston traded him to Cleveland and ate a ton of money.
He became a free agent that year. That's when Denver took, I think, Paxton Lynch that year and let Osweiler walk.
Oh, you're right.
And signed that big deal, and then
you're right. He did sign a 4-year, $72 million contract.
Yep. And then he ends up melting down in the playoffs in New England, which again, I think you look at that playoff run too, and you go through Brock Osweiler, who, someone you'd lost to the season before, the Steelers, the team that, they go through in the AFC Championship game for 3 of their 6 Super Bowls. Like that's just kind of a fixture of Patriots playoff runs. And then Atlanta, obviously, that game needs no introduction. We could do 2 or 3 podcast episodes just on that Super Bowl.
We sure could. And I wish we could tell you. I wish that we could tell you we're going to get Julian Edelman on for that show. But and I'm going to ask. I'm going to try to find out if I can get Julian Edelman on. I'm going to say there's a 99.9% chance that we're not going to be able to, but there is that 0.1% chance that there's a possibility. It's not no until he says no. He may never respond to me, but until he says no, there's always a chance.
If you were involved in any capacity in Super Bowl 51 and would like to be on the podcast, please reach out to us. I don't care if you're a former ball attendant for the Patriots.
It's a great point. Listen, if the deflator's out there, we'll talk to you. We don't care.
Mohamed Sanu,
he was already gone by that point. Mohamed Sanu, great point. I was thinking Marcus Cannon, maybe anyone. James White is connected to people around there. You never know. We're working. We're working the phones behind the scenes, boys and girls.
I think one of my least favorite things I've seen an athlete do after a game ever was Robert Alford, who catches the pick six from Brady in that one.
Yeah.
Him posting that highlight after the game.
Insane.
Bro, I know you're excited about it. You should still be excited. It's not your fault that you lost this game.
Right.
You can't do that. And he did take it down right away.
He had a pick six on Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. It's pretty incredible. Yep. But read the room, bro. What are we doing?
That's something that you celebrate like after you retire.
Correct. Or even as you're heading into next year or at the end of the following year or something like that. You just got to put some space between it.
You cannot do it as long as you are still in Atlanta and not a Super Bowl champion. Those fans are never going to take that well.
It's a fair point. That's a fair point. So, all right, let's get the heck out of here. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the chat as always. And Boston Guy says he's not a fan of Delp, and we get it. We kind of address those issues with Delp. It's a shot in the dark, right? You're taking a chance. You're taking a risk. We took the calculated risk, but again, I don't blame you for not taking the calculated risk if you don't want to. So, but anyways, that's what we got. Thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate everyone. And we'll be back with you on Thursday night. We'll get into some of the owners' meetings. We'll get into some of the rule changes. And I'm sure that something else will come up that we'll be able to get into as well. So thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Be good to each other and go Pats.